evening and a warm welcome. I'm Griha Atul and you're watching Viewpoint. The situation continues to remain tense in Haryana and parts of Rajasthan. Though today, members of the Bajrang Dal and the Vishva Hindu Parishad held protest rallies in several parts of Delhi against the communal violence that took place in Nuh. This even as the Supreme Court has issued notices to the states of Uttar Pradesh, Haryana and Delhi governments in the wake of the communal clashes, directing the centre to ensure no hate speech or violence takes place in these rallies. Now, Union Minister Rao Inderjeet Singh has also met with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, briefed him about the situation in Haryana. Meanwhile, the Chief Minister of the state, Mr. Manohar Lal Khattar, has announced support for those who suffered property damage during the turmoil, and he has even warned of strict action against the perpetrators. Now, appealing for peace, the Chief Minister has also announced that the deployment of central forces must be done to ensure law and order in the communally sensitive areas. But the question is, why wasn't it done earlier? Especially so when the Haryana administration and the police had intel that such a situation could arise. While on the one hand, an FIR copy suggests a quote-unquote planned conspiracy by a mob of 600 to 700 vandals who pelted stones at the Adbar Chowk police station, what explains the swords and the batons carried by the Bajrang Dal and the VHP members in their Shobha Yatra? More so, is this youth wing of the VHP, the Bajrang Dal, really finding patronage as RSS's strike force, and thereby highly placed protection is given to them that allows them to openly incite violence? And are the minority groups really becoming their main casualties of this particular vigilante group that runs amok in the name of cow protection and cultural policing? And then, haven't the minorities too run riot? Who then is to blame in this case, as law and order is the biggest fatality in Haryana today, and victims far too many across both communities?
This bus into the wall, the boundary wall of the police station. They went inside, and then all the the vandalism took place.
Currently, at the place at which I am reporting from, it's in Nuh, and this was one of the epicenter of the violence that broke out yesterday.
मेरी जनता से अपील भी है कि वो लोग शांति बनाए रखें, और चूँकि आपसी तनाव में भाईचारा बिगड़ता है, भाईचारा बना करके रखने से ही अपने प्रदेश की खुशहाली है।
जो नगर में हुआ बड़ा दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है, और आइंदा इस तरह से गड़बड़ी ना हो, उसके लिए भारत सरकार और हरियाणा सरकार पूरे तौर के ऊपर प्रत्यनशील।
तीर्थ यात्री शांतिपूर्ण थे, उन पर हमला किया गया। हमला 700-800 लोगों ने किया, जिनके पास में अवैध बंदूकें, बॉम्ब, लाठी और पत्थर थे। ये सरासर चुनौती थी।
प्रशासनिक चूक हुई है, प्रशासनिक विफलता रही है। जो पुलिस कर्मियों को तैनात करना चाहिए था, प्रशासन को तैनात करना चाहिए था, अगर कोई प्रोसेशन निकल रहा था इस तरीके से, और अगर कहीं चूक रही है तो सरकार को सोचना पड़ेगा।
हरियाणा सरकार उस यात्रा को सुरक्षा देने में पूरे तौर से विफल रही है।
Let me first take this across to my colleague Anvit Srivastava, who is joining us live from Nuh, from where this violence first erupted. Anvit, first of all, there is an FIR that's been registered at the as far as the violence which happened at the Adbar police station. I'd like to understand this planned conspiracy angle. What is the truth behind it, considering the FIR suggests it? This was something that was stated by the state chief minister yesterday, that is possibly that there is a planned conspiracy in this entire communal violence that has erupted out of this place where you're standing from. What is the entire truth behind it? Anvit.
See, it is being called a planned conspiracy on the basis of certain factors, which I'll chart one by one. I'll lay down for the viewers. One is that Nuh Mehwat's video had surfaced, in which he's asking people to join the Jalabhishek Yatra in large numbers, and he's also asking people to, as many as people can participate. He's been asking people to join the yatra. Other than that, certain videos has also surfaced, which are with the police also, and they are investigating into it. That police are saying that certain videos that were used to incite violence and to provoke the two groups, that have also circulated on social media, which have been taken down because a social monitoring team has also been set up by the police, which is monitoring any such post which could incite violence. But police are saying that there are many videos and many other evidences with them that clearly suggest that it could be a planned conspiracy. The FIR says so because FIR was registered based on the complaint of a policeman who was witness to this entire incident. He has said that yes, he saw how the mob was, they were acting in an organized manner. They were stone pelting, they had weapons, they were brandishing pistols. So based upon these incidents, police are also saying that this could be a planned conspiracy, and investigation in that is in this angle is also being done. But a short while ago, when SP was Superintendent of Police was addressing the media, and he was asked that whether there could be any evidence in preliminary investigation that suggests clearly that there could be a planned conspiracy behind this entire incident, he said that it is a matter of investigation. He said that they have evidences, they have videos, they have footages, and they are collecting more and more scientific data, but he stuck to this line that it is a matter of investigation whether or not there were groups of people who were mobilizing the rioters, whether or not these rioters were working at behest of some other organization or persons, or people like Nuh Mehwat who have a criminal background, whether or not they are behind this, they are the main conspirators, or they too were acting at someone's behest. So this is entire a matter of conspiracy, and police are saying that investigation has begun. 116 people have been arrested, 41 FIRs have been registered, and also at least 60 people have been detained in this entire incident. So police are saying that we are investigating, but it is very preliminary stage, because those who have been arrested, their remand will be taken, and once they are on remand, only then they will be interrogated to know the details that who are the people who they were connected further with.
All right, Anvit, you're pretty much laid down which way is the probe headed. I'd like to understand what is the situation currently in Nuh, where you are at, how long is the curfew going to remain, and the ground situation, considering the police is saying all this, what have you learned through the locals who you've managed to speak to?
Yeah, see, the current situation, first of all, Griya, we are in Nuh at the main Alwar road, and you can say RAF is deployed in good number here. These personnel, in fact senior personnel, are also there on ground. On this particular area where we are reporting from, CRPF is also deployed, additional units of local police from other districts of Haryana, be it Rewari, Rohtak and Sonipat. From there also force has been called in to maintain a tight vigil, particularly in Manesar, in Nuh, in Sohna and in Gurugram. But see, when we went to police have been maintaining since the beginning that they have ensured good presence on ground, and they are not letting any incident of violence unfold. But when we hit the ground and we talk to people, the witnesses and the victims of vandalism and arson that is taken place, they have been saying since the beginning that the police and administration have been a step behind when it comes to securing their property and their lives. They have been saying that when the violence began, they are saying that police was not on ground. They came in a little late. Inside this residential area also, where we reported from a short while ago, a lot of people who came out on the street said that on Monday around 1:30 p.m. 2 p.m. when a mob had charged their residential area, police was nowhere to be seen. Police are maintaining that they have now deployed enough people, but see, the point is that even yesterday, police have been maintaining since Monday evening after the violence was contained that we are not letting any incident of violence happen. But even yesterday, from sector 57 in Gurugram and from sector 66 in Gurugram, which is not even a core area of Haryana, it comes in NCR, Delhi NCR. Even from those areas, incident of arson and violence were reported. So police will have to ensure that in every pocket of NCR, Faridabad, Gurgaon, whatever areas are adjoining areas to Nuh and Mehwat, such incidents do not happen, and then only will the locals also who have been since beginning alleging against the police that the violence is still happening, they will also make similar claims as the police have been doing.
Right, Anvit, thank you so much for bringing us all of those aspects from Nuh, from where this incident really occurred. It emanated from that part of Haryana, and now it is spilled onto not just Haryana, also into Rajasthan. Let me now open this up to my guests who are joining me on the broadcast. Mr. Shashikant, who's the former DGP of Punjab, is with us. Also with us is Mr. Arshpreet Kadyal of the Congress Party. Naveen Chomal of the VHP is also with us. Also with us is Savio Rodrigues, who's a senior journalist. Mr. Chomal, let me begin with you. Considering the VHP is in the thick of things right now, it was your Shobha Yatra, your rally that led to this entire chaos and turmoil that is erupted in Haryana. Now there is a statement, a direction that has come in from the Supreme Court, where, however, they've not stopped any such rallying by the Bajrang Dal or the VHP, but they have in fact asked for strict vigil and assurance by the centre that no hate speech should be allowed in the rally. This is also pretty much underlining that something of this sort did happen when the rally was crossing Nuh.
Supreme Court is on absolutely wrong direction, and they are trying to, give support to the arsonists. The excuse being given by the arsonists, that is not the cause. This particular region, Nuh Mehwat, has become the ghetto of Muslims and a hub of the anti-national and criminal activities. Like earlier in Meerut, all the stolen vehicles used to be sold over there. Same Meerut has been the place. Ultimately, when Yogi Adityanath called in the Meerut, and Meerut is free from those criminal activities, this particular belt Nuh has become the criminal activity hub. And not only of stolen vehicles, but it has been of the cyber crimes also.
No, Mr. Chomal, what is the point of making blanket statements like this? I am asking you something. It has been underlined by the apex court of the country, saying that the court has got it wrong, sir.
Please appreciate your channel. Doesn't have the record. 3 months back, more than 5,000 police officers had taken a big raid on that particular area, and hundreds of Muslim people were arrested for the cyber crimes. So their backbone was destroyed. So this is basically a reaction. Unfortunately, our government was caught napping, and this is all the excuse. What has happened in Delhi riots? They blamed Kapil Mishra.
So basically, you agree that the government in Haryana and also at the centre was caught napping, even the police administration, even though they knew that this was a sensitive area, especially communally sensitive. They did not have enough deployment in the area as the VHP rally was crossing it.
Yes, they trusted the Muslims that they will be law-abiding. And the Muslim people proved to be waging a war against the nation. This is not just a case of a riot, but it was a pre-planned riot against the nation. Because there is a big industry of cybercrime in that region, and that backbone is being broken by the government. So let us not go by what is being seen to the eyes. There is much more than what meets the eyes.
Okay. You've still not answered the instigation question, sir.
There is no instigation from the Hindu side. This is all just an excuse.
No, it's not about Hindu or Muslim side. I'm simply asking that the VHP rally did have a lot of sloganeering when it was crossing an area, which you yourself have claimed that it's communally sensitive. There was insightful speeches that were put out on social media before this rally was about to be commenced. There was Monu Manesar on social media who in fact announced that he is going to be part of the rally. There was a retaliation coming in from the Nuh district where the majority of the population is Muslim, and we do agree that they were waiting with stones on their rooftop. The police was not doing anything about it. They were not following SOP, and that's a big lapse. But what about the inciting that happened with the VHP members?
Only because Monu Manesar announced that he will be joining the rally, they could have informed the police. Are you justifying what Muslims did? Is the Supreme Court justifying?
No, absolutely not. So I can't answer for the Supreme Court. But you can't be casting aspersions on the apex court of the country. Let me actually bring in Arshpreet Kadyal first.
Because of journalists and the Supreme Court.
All right, so let me get in a perspective, Mr. Chomal. Arshpreet, you have heard member of the VHP. The fact that there are open claims that have been made that this entire Nuh area has been notorious. There was a notoriety associated with them. The member of the VHP also talks about past criminal instances, of FIRs that have been registered, cyber crimes. He speaks about all of those. How do you actually put all of those in perspective, and what will be your response, considering there's two Congress MLAs from that very area, and there have been accusations and aspersions that have been cast in the past by members of the VHP that they also have been responsible in inciting the violence, because they have been part of the assembly and they said that if at all there is going to be a VHP rally, or if at all Monu Manesar is seen on the streets, then something untoward is going to happen.
Thank you very much for the question. First and foremost, it was Manipur before, and now it is Haryana. There's been a complete breakdown of the law and order machinery, and it is a result of the failure of the Bharatiya Janata Party's government. Therefore, the Chief Minister must resign. He already should have resigned 24 hours ago, because he has not been able to control the state. It is the first and the foremost duty and the responsibility of the state government to ensure law and order. So many people have been killed. So many police personnel have been injured. Has there been any time-bound inquiry that has been ordered by the government? They are least concerned. If 10% of the focus that the Bharatiya Janata Party gives to ads, marketing and branding, if it would have been 10% of that time would have been given to law and order, all these incidents would have been averted. Did the government not know? Did they not anticipate that if the accused is brought to know there could be a problematic situation, then why were the arrangements not made? Why did you not prepare for the situation? This goes on to suggest that the Bharatiya Janata Party's government is incapable of running the state. And therefore, the people should not suffer. They should resign. And number 4, you see, the priority of the government is still votes over victims. I don't know why is the government still not doing anything, in order to resolve the situation. And I don't know why is the Prime Minister not intervening in the situation. First, Mr. Mukti did not speak over the Manipur issue for 77 days. He could travel the world but just could not go to Manipur. And now why can't the Prime Minister prioritize this situation, this issue?
No, but we have been told,
Haryana, and come to Haryana.
We have been told that he has been apprised of the situation. We'd have to wait for a word to come in from the Prime Minister. But we do have a word from the Chief Minister of the state, where he has said that there needs to be enough deployment of central forces as far as the state is concerned. Even the member of the VHP has agreed that there have been serious lapses when it comes to the Haryana administration and also on part of the police. So that is something that is established now. Let me actually take this across to Mr. Shashikant, who also continues to be with us. As a former DGP, he would be able to give us an honest perspective of law and order in any state. Mr. Shashikant, the things that you've seen played out of Haryana, especially the Nuh area, and now it's spilled into Rajasthan, would you not say that this has been a gruesome, failure on part of the police, and they did not follow the SOPs, and that's why things really took this ugly turn?
I'll call it the failure of the entire administration. The situation was brewing up ever since February, when those 2 persons, Nasir and Junaid, I think that was the name. Yes. They were found dead or something, up because the investigation is on, so I won't comment on that further. Situation has been sizzling ever since then. And now coming to this particular situation, for almost good 2 weeks, there was a regular warfare. I'm using the word warfare on the social media. Both parties saying that they're going to do this thing, they're going to do this thing, or some of the challenges, threats, urging people to get mobilized. Well, why the state administration? And they say that the Nuh had this cyber control center or something. They had laptops, they had everything. Even they couldn't take notice of it. And next, I know, having worked in all sorts of agencies, Government of India, that whenever such a situation is brewing up, concerned agencies send reports in writing. I don't think they had failed on this particular occasion. They must have sent it, I'm sure about it. Next point. I have been hearing a lot about this thing that Nuh is becoming an epicenter of anti-social elements, etc., etc. Well, if it was a hub, why the powers that be were sleeping? Why no action was taken? Why it was being permitted to becoming a hub and a bigger hub and a still bigger hub? So I'll just call it, even if when the situation has come up, there are regular SOPs, written and unwritten. When a procession has to be taken out, they seek information from the intelligence bureau, from local intelligence guys, etc., etc. And the thing says that if there is any pocket, so there is always a detour, or additionally, extra force is put on duty. Why in this case central forces were not requisitioned when it was writing on the wall that this thing is going to happen? So I think it's a case of total negligence, or maybe you can say that nobody really bothered about what's going to happen. Processionists and others, both the parties were collecting weapons, they were carrying weapons, they were carrying stones, and the stones which have been recovered, I'm told that they were the stones which had probably come out of a local quarry. Why the police administration failed to take notice thereof? The stones were going on there. They were being piled up around the roadsides.
Yes.
It's a total cross failure, and I don't know really how to comment it, but
Okay, Savio.
I'm really disturbed at this kind of
Absolutely.
situation.
Savio, your word here,
you.
You've heard all the three members of this panel, and on the one hand, where everybody agrees how this is a huge failure on part of the Haryana administration, law and order has gone for a toss, police was left as mute spectators. What do you see happening at the moment? And this delayed action by not just the chief minister of the state, but also by the police in this case, how would you see it as a journalist? Because the stories that have come out in the aftermath of the violence, especially that emanated out of Nuh, the victims, the people who probably were bystanders, who had nothing to do with the violence, all of them have been impacted. What do you say about what is being played out on the ground?
You know, the sad truth about what is happening in India is that there are people who are attempting to divide the Indians based on their religious beliefs or their caste beliefs, or in Manipur, their tribal associations. Now, these people are not Indians in their belief. They are either believing in their religious communities or their caste-based communities or their tribal-based communities. They are not thinking of Indians at all. That is why you see these spurts of violences happening in different regions in India. And I completely agree with all the panelists that if you are talking about a conspiracy theory, which is often the reason put forward that either it's going to be a foreign hand or it's going to be a conspiracy, that exhibits or exposes the complete failure of the law and order authorities, the people who manage law and order, to be able to identify problem areas in the country and be alert about it. Now, Nuh is a problem area of a procession which is rightfully done and should have been done, because there is no land that belongs to a Muslim or a Hindu or a Christian in India. Every land belongs to the Indian. So when there is a procession taking out and it is in a sensitive area, there has to be alertness as far as the problems that would be that could come out because of such a procession. But we have not been alert about it, and we've allowed for it to simmer and blow into a large fire which is spreading in other parts of Haryana right now.
Yes.
It's the same thing in Manipur. The only reaction came out when the video of those two women paraded naked was made public, and that's when the media, that's when the administration, that's when the local administration started to act.
You know, but Savio, when this entire aspect of a planned conspiracy comes out of a situation like this, it's a communal violence, of course, where both the communities really have been involved. But when you say planned conspiracy, why was something not really done about it? Because, like I said, the writing was on the wall. The other panelists have also suggested the same thing, that there were social media updates that were given. All of that was being allowed. There were swords and batons in the rally that was part of the VHP. And there were members of the community who were residing in the Nuh district, who were well prepared to pelt stones at the procession.
Well, if the VHP carried swords and sticks, you had the Muslims.
That's what I said.
The Islamic people who actually carried stones with them on the buildings.
That's what I said.
Everybody,
the Muslims,
seemed to have been
Muslim-dominated place. Islamic people is not a term that we can. Okay, so I would want to understand this aspect exactly.
Is the term.
I really want to understand this. Who is to blame in this case? Because on both the aspects, there is a failure of law and order. There was no SOP that was followed by the police. It's only now that we see the deployment of the central forces. And then there is an FIR that is suggesting a planned conspiracy. By who?
You know who you should blame? You should blame the very people in each of the communities who actually allow for this to percolate in their communities. Because there are good Muslims, there are good Hindus that do not want to get into the conflict, but get dragged into the conflict and are becoming victims of conflicts of a few people that want to burn this country. That's where the problem is. So if they wake up and tell people within their own community that we are Indians first, then we belong to our religions, that's when the change is going to happen.
Okay. Naveen ji, I would like to ask you a very simple question. Monu Manesar, where is he? Kahan hai Monu Manesar?
Please arrest him.
Monu Manesar must be absconding at the moment. He must be trying to evade the arrest by the police. But kindly appreciate, let us not fall as a victim to the false propaganda by the arsonists. They are just trying to put some excuse of Monu Manesar. That is not the reason. Look at the planning that they have done. Look at the stones they have collected. They had the firearms also with them. And the scale of the arson which they did, it is not because of one person called Monu Manesar. So let us not be so gullible. Let us identify the problem. Let us call out the problem.
Nobody is being gullible, sir. Mr. Choma, yes. I would ask you a simple question. Monu Manesar is openly reacting to the media reports. He's also saying that I was in touch with VHP leadership and they suggested that please do not go to the rally, and hence I decided not to. Although he had allegedly put a social media post announcing that he is going to be a part of the rally, there were obviously sentiments that were heightened because of the social media post, and it was decided as a retaliation. So when he's so accessible to the VHP, a person who's on the run after the February instance where there were bodies of Nasir and Junaid that were charred in Bhiwani, why are you not handing him over to the police?
No, the investigation doesn't point to his involvement in the earlier incident of February. Please appreciate. Had that been the case, the police would have arrested him long back. Now what the focus should be is where the problem lies. It is not with the
problem also lies with Monu Manesar, sir. I would request you to hold your thought. I would request you, all my guests, to please hold your thought. I also have Mr. O.P. Dhankar, who's the BJP Haryana president, who's now joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Dhankar, very good evening and thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. Of course, we've been hearing various stakeholders of whatever has come out of Haryana. But what is your thought? It's a failure of law and order. Everybody is saying that in one breath. How does the BJP, which is your government in the state and at the center, react to this?
देखिए, घटना दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण हुई है और निश्चित रूप से इसकी जो ग्रेविटी है उसका अंदाज शायद प्रशासन को उस प्रकार का नहीं रहा, क्योंकि ये हर साल निकलती थी, आराम से निकलती थी ब्रजमंडल यात्रा। किसी को ये अंदाज नहीं था कि यात्रा पर हमला होगा जी। और जब हमला हुआ तो उस समय एक लेवल की पुलिस वहां थी जिस लेवल की ऐसे साधारण व्यवस्थाओं में रहती है, लेकिन ऐसा हमला सोचकर कि उस पर पथराव होगा, कुछ गोलियां भी चल पड़ेंगी, गाड़ियां फूकी जाएंगी, उस अंदाज के लेवल का जो है मैं कहूंगा कि पुलिस प्रशासन की व्यवस्थाएं ऐसा बलवा होगा ऐसा मानकर नहीं थी। एक साधारण प्रोसेशन में जिस प्रकार के इंतजामात रहते हैं उस इंतजामात के साथ थी, लेकिन घटना घटी है। घटना घटने के बाद फिर जो समय लगा,
आपसे एक छोटी सी सवाल इसके ऊपर मैं आपसे जानना चाहूंगी कि ये जानकारी हमें मिल रही है हमारे रिपोर्टर्स के जरिए कि एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को, हरियाणा एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन और पुलिस को ये इन्फॉर्मेशन थी कि इस तरह की घटना हो सकती है। सोशल मीडिया पे इतने सारे पोस्ट आ रहे थे, मोनू मानेसर तक ने एक वीडियो रिलीज कर दिया था एलिजिडली कि भाई मैं आ रहा हूं नूह में, उसकी वजह से और ज्यादा फ्लेयर अप हो गया। इसके बावजूद ये एक्यूजेशन लगाया जा रहा है एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन पे, पुलिस पे, कि जो स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसीजर्स हैं वो फॉलो ही नहीं किए गए। अभी आप कह रहे हैं कि कहां से पत्थर आ गए, कहां से पथराव शुरू हो गए, प्लान कंस्पिरेसी है, क्या ड्रोन्स के जरिए सर्वेलेंस हुआ था उस जगह का क्योंकि एक कम्युनली सेंसिटिव एरिया है, क्या ये बात तय हुई थी कि वीएचपी रैली कितनी ज्यादा शांतिपूर्वक तरीके से निकाली जा रही है, और अगर शांतिपूर्वक थी तो तलवारें क्या कर रही थी रैली में?
देखिए, आपने जितने सवाल खड़े किए, सवाल तो खड़े हो ही गए हैं जी। ये सवाल खड़े हैं, ये सवाल अब हैं, क्योंकि अगर पहले से सब पता होता, ड्रोन से निगरानी होती, पुलिस व्यवस्था उससे बेहतर होती, ये मान लिया पहले से, मतलब ये मान लिया गया होता या ये शंका पैदा कर ली होती कि बलवा होने वाला है, अटैक होने वाला है, गाड़ियां जलाई जा सकती हैं, तो ये सब घटना नहीं घटित हो पाती। ये सही है, पहले जो पुलिस प्रशासन का अंदाज रहा वो ये रहा कि भाई सामान्य व्यवस्था में जैसे पहले निकलती रही है, एक सामान्य व्यवस्था में जितनी पुलिस चाहिए उस प्रकार की पुलिस थी, लेकिन जब बलवा हुआ उसको निपटने के लिए जो तैयारियां चाहिए थी वो तैयारियां नहीं थी और उस प्रकार के इंतजाम होने में 4-5 घंटे लगे। इस कारण से परेशानी भी हुई, कुछ लोगों की डेथ भी हुई। ये हुआ है, ये घटनाक्रम तो अब घटित हो चुका है और ये मीडिया के ध्यान में भी है और सारे देश के ध्यान में है कि ये गैप रहा है, क्योंकि उनका जो मानना था वहां के पुलिस प्रशासन का, वो इस प्रकार का मानना था कि एक साधारण व्यवस्था से शायद उस प्रकार के सिस्टम से चीजें घटित हो जाएंगी, लेकिन इतना बड़ा बलवा हो जाएगा, इतनी गाड़ियां ज्यादा तक तो इतने हावी हो जाएंगे।
दंकर जी, आप ये कह रहे हैं कि 4-5 घंटे लगे, 4-5 घंटे लगे डैमेज कंट्रोल में, लेकिन ये 4-5 घंटे तो तीसरे दिन तक स्पिल आउट हो गए हैं। अब हम जो देख रहे हैं, दिल्ली के पास गुड़गांव तक घटनाएं पहुंच गई हैं। एक मस्जिद को टॉर्च किया जाता है, वहां पे जो जूनियर इमाम थे उनकी मौत हो जाती है। इतनी सारी घटनाएं हो रही हैं, कहां है आपकी पुलिस?
नहीं, देखिए, जो वहां पर मैं नूह की बात कर रहा हूं, उस नाते से नूह में जो हुआ उसको 4-5 घंटे लगे संभालने में और वहां बजरंग दल के एक गुड़गांव के कार्यकर्ता मारे गए, एक पानीपत के कार्यकर्ता मारे गए, 2 होमगार्ड मारे गए और ये जो आप घटना बता रही है, घटना कोई गुड़गांव में फिर बाद में रात्रि में कल जानकारी मिली कि ऐसी कोई घटना हुई है। उस नाते से बाकी सब स्थानों पर, क्योंकि यहाँ का अंदाज नहीं था शायद कि भाई यहाँ कोई घटना होगी, तो उस नाते से नूह को सब संभाल रहे थे और उसके बाद जहाँ ये बाकी जगह सेंसिटिविटी दिखी तो दिन भर में बाकी सब जगह भी कोई रिएक्शन नहीं है, उसको संभाला है सरकार ने।
जी, ये जो डिप्लॉयमेंट हुआ है सेंट्रल फोर्सेस का तीसरे दिन पे, बहुत ही डिलेड एक्शन माना जा रहा है प्रशासन का जो एक्शन है, उस पे कैसे आप रिस्पॉन्ड करेंगे? क्योंकि अब ये माना जा रहा है कि ये जो पहले हो जाना चाहिए था, पहले दिन जब दंगे भड़के, तीसरे दिन अगर खट्टर साहब इसको अनाउंस कर रहे हैं 24 या 45 घंटे 48 आवर्स के बाद, इसके लिए कैसे आप जवाब देंगे?
नहीं, देखिए, पुलिस तो पहले से बुला ली गई थी, सेंट्रल पुलिस की भी उन्होंने मांग कर ली थी। उस नाते से नूह को पहले दिन शाम तक संभाल लिया गया था और बाकी स्थानों का विषय तो कल रात्रि के बाद उसके रिएक्शन में जब शुरू हुआ तो उस नाते से उसको संभालना शुरू किया गया और उसको भी मैं कहूंगा कि एक गुड़गांव की घटना को छोड़ दें तो बाकी प्रदेश को संभाला है।
एक आखिरी सवाल आपसे पूछना चाहूंगी धनखड़ साहब, एक FIR ये अकबर पुलिस चौक, जो चौक पुलिस स्टेशन है, वहां पे रजिस्टर हुआ है और ये बात अंडरलाइन की जा रही है कि एक प्लान कंस्पिरेसी है। क्या इस तरह के बयानबाजी से और ज्यादा फ्लेयर अप नहीं होंगे सेंटिमेंट्स?
देखिए, इतनी बड़ी घटना बिना योजना के तो नहीं हो सकती। नूह में जो कुछ किया है वो अराजक तत्वों ने पूरे योजनाबद्ध तरीके से किया है। कुछ मिनटों में, कुछ सेकंडों में, कुछ घंटों में ऐसे इकट्ठा नहीं हो सकते, ऐसे पथराव नहीं हो सकता, इतनी गाड़ियां नहीं जलाई जा सकती, इस प्रकार की गोली नहीं चल सकती, ऐसे हत्या नहीं हो सकती। तो इसलिए तो ढूंढना ही चाहिए कि इस घटनाओं के पीछे किनकी योजना थी। योजनाबद्ध तरीके से अराजक तत्वों को बिल्कुल भी माफ नहीं किया जाना चाहिए। दोनों, वहां मेवात बड़ी शांति प्रिय तरीके से रहा है, दोनों ही पक्ष बहुत शांति प्रिय तरीके से वर्षों से रहते आए हैं। समाज के समझदार लोगों ने उस प्रकार की शांति का माहौल बनाने में उसी समय लगे थे, बना के साथ रहना चाहिए। इस बलवे के बीच में भी दोनों पक्ष के लोग इस प्रकार की शांति की अपील कर रहे थे, लेकिन जो इस प्रकार के अपराधी हैं, अराजक हैं, जिन्होंने इस प्रकार की घटना का अंजाम दिया है, उनको बिल्कुल नहीं बख्शा जाना चाहिए।
और धनखड़ जी, जब आप कॉन्स्पिरेसी की बात कर रहे हैं तो एक नाम सामने आता है मोनू मानेसर का। ओपनली वो प्रोक्लेम कर रहे हैं सोशल मीडिया पे, मीडिया से भी बातें कर रहे हैं, लेकिन उनका कुछ अता पता नहीं है। कहाँ है मोनू जी?
आप मुझे उसकी कोई जानकारी नहीं है, जिसकी वो मोनू जी से या मोनू के लोगों से पूछिए या पुलिस से पूछिए। लेकिन इस प्रकार के दूसरे जो वीडियो हैं, एक मोनू के नैरेटिव में इस अपराध को छुपाया नहीं जा सकता भाई। मोनू के नैरेटिव में कुछ लोग इसको छुपाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, एक नैरेटिव बदलने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। अब किसी एक मोनू के कहने से 5-6 हजार लोगों के किसी आप जुलूस पर हमला करेंगे, हिंदू समाज की एक पवित्र यात्रा पर हमला करेंगे। ये नैरेटिव बड़े गलत तरीके से फैलाया जा रहा है। दूसरी तरफ के भी बहुत सारे वीडियो सोशल मीडिया पर हैं, उनको दिखाइए, उसकी बात भी बताइए। ये जो आएंगे, ये करेंगे, वो भी सोशल मीडिया पर बहुत सारे तैर रहे हैं। ये वन टाइप नैरेटिव, ये इस प्रकार से बढ़ाना केवल इस घटना को कोई जस्टिफाई नहीं कर सकता, किसी के फेवर में नहीं ले जा सकता। इस प्रकार के नैरेटिव में इसको छुपाना नहीं चाहिए। जिन्होंने ऐसा षड्यंत्र किया है और इस प्रकार की योजना बनाई है, जिस प्रकार से हमला किया है, उनको जरूर सजा मिलनी चाहिए और समाज के वर्गों को शांतिपूर्वक मिलकर रहना चाहिए।
जी, thank you so much, Mr. Dhankar, for joining us on the broadcast. Let me go back to my guests who are waiting, who are also continuing to be with us on this debate. Arshpreet, I'll come to you first. We just heard a member of the the Bharatiya Janata Party, speaking about how there needs to be ample action that is still pending and it needs to be actually brought to light and that needs to be done. Are you satisfied with the statements that are coming in from the BJP government in the state and also the government of the centre?
Thank you. See, I'm not at all satisfied with the Bharatiya Janata Party's response to the entire situation. They, used to promise us Achhe Din. Achhe Din did not come. At least a statement from the Honorable Prime Minister could have come on this situation. Had there been even a single life lost, it would have been a big issue. Now, there have been so many people that have lost their lives. There are so many victims. There are so many families that have, that have suffered from so much, and despite that, we cannot even have a statement from our Prime Minister. Is Haryana not a part of India? Is the
absolutely, but Arshpreet, rather than getting stuck on the statement of the Prime Minister, I'd like to also bring your attention to this one aspect that the BJP and the member of the VHP is also mentioned, is that it cannot be one-sided. If we talk about Nuh Mehwat, they are saying that one-sided claims cannot be made, that there was an instigation only by the VHP or the member of the Bajrang Dal or the cow vigilante who is called Nuh Mehwat, who is running amok, and the police and the Haryana administration is not able to catch him for some reason. How do you see his role in this entire violence?
See, I would not want to speculate. It is the job of the police to inquire, to investigate. Had the state government of the Bharatiya Janata Party had ordered, a time-bound inquiry, by now we would have had the answers to the questions that you were asking, and we wouldn't have had to assume or presume. We would have had concrete answers and we could have proceeded with an action. But the government is busy with other things. What else could be the priority of the Bharatiya Janata Party? Haryana mein it is your government, centre mein it is your government. Despite that, you're not willing to do much. You're not even willing to issue a statement. This goes on to suggest that the Bharatiya Janata Party is insensitive. This goes on to suggest that the Bharatiya Janata Party is compassionate about it. That the Bharatiya Janata Party is not willing to prioritize the lives of people. That's why they're not even willing to issue a statement. Number two, you see, days have passed since this situation has erupted. Have we had even a single discussion over the Haryana issue in the parliament? No, not at all. Because the priority of the Bharatiya Janata Party government is cinematograph amendment bill, piracy band karni hai.
All right, so we'll go there. This will digress to Manipur and Haryana conversation in the parliament. Let me actually bring in Mr. Chomal, who wants to make a point. Chomal sahab, kya kehna cha rahe hain aap?
The spokesperson from the Congress tried to politicize the issue, but ultimately there is much more than what meets the eye. As I was saying in the earlier section, please appreciate that Bharatiya Janata Party government, whether in the center or the state, will be more interested in the peace and harmony. More so because we have got the G20 summit also. We want to take the nation forward. Of course, it is.
But sir, while you say that, this is in fact explains even bigger a failure on part of the government in the center and the state, sir.
It is also an instigation by the Congress leaders over there. The Congress party is not dominance over there. There are Congress elected representatives in that region, and there is the pre-planned conspiracy against
I already asked Mr. Arshpreet Kadyal that question in the beginning. I already asked him. If you want him to reiterate his point, I'll get him to respond to that. But Mr. Shashikant, I'd like to actually understand this one aspect, that the BJP and the VHP continue to claim that this is it's a planned conspiracy. What were the Stones really doing there? And I keep asking, what were the Stones really doing in a rally which was apparently so pavitra and peaceful? What about Nuh Mehwat is a question that both these parties are continuing to dodge. When it is about the police's role in this entire aspect, because on many occasions, when it is about the anti-cow smuggling law, which is being launched by the Khattar government in 2021 in the state of Haryana, the police and cow vigilantes like Nuh Mehwat were in cahoots. In fact, Nuh Mehwat was a front runner who was in fact stopping processions or probably people who were ferrying cows, and there are instances that have come out where what has happened when it is about the cow vigilante role. You already mentioned about Nasir and Junaid, how their bodies were found charred. Do you think there is patronage that's coming in from the police and the administration? That's why rallies where there is a possible violent approach is also allowed to pass through the state of Haryana?
Look, I'll start from where you ended. This was indeed a failure on part of the government or police or what administration, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Both the parties, it appears, videos are there, equally prepared. Some party was collecting stones and arms and firearms and swords and this and that. I fail to understand when this particular situation was brewing up ever since February, and that too is Goraksha thing when the Prime Minister himself has said this thing, that this kind of Goraksha thing will not be permitted, which leads to law and order situation. Why nobody woke up? Number one. And secondly, as I have already mentioned, for full about 2 weeks, I use the word warfare. Again, I use the word warfare was going on the social media, both the parties accusing each other and telling them to do this thing and that thing. And both the parties have started preparing also, it appears. It's obvious, we've seen on the videos that one group was carrying swords and all those things. It's clear that certain your stones, etc., which were being pelted, they had come from a local quarry, and that firearms were freely used. The point is that why the administration failed to take, I'm not a politician, I will not blame either this party or that party.
All right.
From a police officer, ex-police and ex-intelligence officer, I'll say that there was a gross failure on part of the administration.
Absolutely. All right, Mr. Shashikant, thank you so much. I'm really sorry I'll have to interrupt all my speakers because that's all the time that I had on this debate. But thank you so much for joining us.